Hello, everybody. This is Michelle Moross, and if you have just stumbled across me and you're like, who is this lady that I'm listening to or watching? Her name is Michelle Moross. That's me. You have stumbled across MentalShift, which is my podcast where we talk about reaching your full potential. And wow, who am I? Well, I'm an award-winning international speaker. I train people to speak their message on stage, and I coach people on their messaging and how to communicate the physically whatever and help them write. So if you want to learn more about me, go to www.mynamemichellemoross.com, and you can find it pretty much everywhere on this podcast and everything below. Now, I said that really fast because I'm so excited to have our guest today. Now, many of you who have followed me, or if you haven't followed me, you'll see in my story that I have a brain injury from a couple of years ago. And people do, wow, how did you make it through that? How did you get whatever? Well, I wrote 2 books in that time period. And one of the books was called It's Not Luck Overcoming You. And in that book, I talk a lot about a particular individual who helped me through the mindset of all these inner voices that were attacking me. And I know some of you who have been watching me do, who is this Paul Scheele you keep talking about? Well, in this time that we are experiencing right now, I have found that there is something very common that is happening around everyone and around the world. And there's this mind shift going on. And I thought, who better than the man who helped me find me in crisis to come talk and share with my audience and beyond, Dr. Paul Scheele. Now, he's waving, but I have to introduce him because he's just amazing. And I'm not going to read all of his bio because if I did, we'd be talking for 15 minutes about all the amazing things this man has done. So I'm going to skim across it, okay? He entertains, he educates, he inspires, he moves audiences to, advocate for their own genius and to find their potential and achieve their potential, like he did with me. He combines he has this unique blend of expertise of neuroscience and business and psychology and learning. And he's the CEO of Scheele Learning Systems and a founding partner for Learning Strategies Corporation. I mean, his work has been translated into over 15 languages, over 185 countries. And he's a bestseller of, 3 books that I happen to own and live on. One is Photo Reading, which has saved me a lot. Number 2 is Natural Brilliance. And then the third one is Drop into Brilliance. And I wanted Dr. Paul Scheele to come here, and I will covenantly, lovingly call him my friend, Paul. Paul, thank you for joining me on MentalShift.
It's a pleasure to be with you, Michelle. It's been way too long. You've been doing such great work and so busy. We've hardly connected in a while now. So thank you so much for the invitation.
Oh, I'm just thrilled to have you. When all of this hit the fan and everything was going chaotic and people started saying, I'm trapped in my house. I don't know what to do. I'm gonna go find myself, or I'm gonna go crazy in the house. And I kept thinking, no, stop projecting what you're gonna. Stop saying you're fixing. And I said, you know who? Paul needs to talk to everybody because I just simply don't have the skills to do it the way you do it. Paul, we need you right now. We need your messaging.
Well, think about what's going through the human family right now. Basically, it's a tsunami. It just happens to have a title of a global pandemic. But whether it's wildfires, burning the world, or earthquakes shaking the world, or hurricanes ripping through the world, or whatever it may be, what we know is that there is one catastrophe after the next. And if you've ever been with somebody either in the military or in emergency medical technology, wilderness rescue, they'll always tell you, most important thing is to stay calm. And there's a lot to that. In World War I, the English had a poster called "Stay Calm and Carry On." Well,
Yes.
The idea is that this is just one of a continuous set of chaotic events. And what do we do at the moment that that wave hits us. And that's really what we could talk about, Michelle, because all of us know that when we're in a panic, we're not necessarily very resourceful. And if somebody is with you and you're in a panic, they're always going to tell you, okay, just breathe for a moment. Just take a moment and breathe. And what's so important about that is that the breath deals with the oldest part of the brain. The most ancient part of the human brain is called the reptilian complex. And that's the part of us which, when it doesn't feel safe, it freezes. Think about a turtle withdrawing its head, right? That's exactly what that reptilian complex does, is it doesn't fight you, it just freezes. So what are we supposed to do? Take breath? Yes. And a good way to do that is to take a deep breath in, bring your shoulders way up as you do so, and as you exhale, just sit back and let your shoulders drop. Now that seems almost ridiculously easy, but it's profound what it does for your neurophysiology. It instantly affects your brain as well as your body.
Just breathe.
That's step one. Should we get into step two?
Yes, that's why you're here, mister.
Okay, so you understand that there's another part of the ancient brain. We've got the reptilian complex, and then we've got the mammalian brain. And that's the part that's in charge of our emotions. So safety, which is the reptilian, is experienced when we just drop our shoulders, right? We breathe and we drop our shoulders. And that creates this recognition that there's no imminent threat at this second right now. So in this moment, right where you are, that's going to be a good start. And the second part is the idea of calming that mammalian brain, that emotional part of the brain. And the way that we can do that is by relaxing the forehead. This muscle, the frontalis muscle, has been associated with relaxation all over the body. So if you just tune in to what's happening on your forehead and imagine it smoothing out and relax around your eyes, your cheeks, your jaw, so let your jaw loosen up a little bit and relax. And if you can bring a slight hint of a smile, you know, that kind of the cat just ate the bird sort of smile. It's just that gentle hint of a smile at the corners of your eyes and the corners of your mouth. And immediately what that does is it creates a sense of calm within the nervous system. A lot of research has been done on the effect of smiling in order to produce a certain neurochemistry. So instantaneously, Michelle, what's going to happen is that the stress hormones are going to drop precipitously. It's going to fall away, and immediately the beneficial hormones within your body are going to help. Oxytocin, serotonin, dopamine, these are all going to be generated in greater quantities just with those two simple moves. Now, there is one more, which I really encourage, and you have to understand that when you're in safety, the first step, and then calm moves us out of what's called the fight or flight brain state. And you probably saw it, people freaking out about not enough supplies and getting into fistfights in stores over toilet paper. I mean, that kind of became the famous icon of this pandemic. And then the other thing was the lines to buy guns and ammunition. That's a typical midbrain response to a feeling that, you know, I can't be calm. This is a real mess that's happening. Well, if you can't stay calm, you can't move up into the higher brain functions to see there are a lot more options available to you. And so this is where the third step comes in. If you could just be aware of the flow of the breath in your nostrils, just feeling the touch of it there, that's huge. It's going to make a big difference, because what it does is it brings you into the present moment. Just feeling the touch of the breath in your nostrils brings you more into an awareness of yourself right here where you are. And then see if you can allow that breath to flow so that there's no pauses between the breaths. See, when somebody's in a panic, they're holding their breath like this, and it's disrupting the mind as well as the body. So a smooth breath that seems continuous and connected, and then allow that breath to be even so that the exhale and the inhale are of a similar duration. And what that does is it starts to link that body and mind more effectively together. And that's a threshold at which we're now moving into the higher brain functions where problem solving can occur, where you can see the choices that are available to you. So you don't need to worry in this moment. You have things that you can do right here, right now, to take care of yourself and to take care of the ones that you love. So do you see, Michelle, these three simple steps, what I'm calling dropping into that greater genius within you? It starts with relaxing the shoulders. Next is to allow the face to relax, a hint of a smile. And the third is to get that breath deep and even. And when you've done those three things, now you're out of the fight, flight, or freeze mode. And you're now moving into the genius brain. And I want to say, you'd mentioned this earlier in my bio. It is my proposition that the purpose of education is the liberation of human genius. And that's why I wrote the book, Drop into Genius. This idea that there is so much resourcefulness available to us, it's spectacular. But if we're down-regulated into the old brain, it seems like we don't have any choices.
Exactly. And that's why it was so important for me to bring you to my world, is because I've seen so many people stuck in that fear cycle where they're just immobilized and they just can't move and they don't see and stuck in the reptilian part of their brain. And on your website, I saw you post something about a 5-day laser focus challenge. And I thought, oh my gosh, Paul needs to be in my world. My people need to hear from him, because on my own, I'm an inspirational speaker. I can inspire them to move. But if I don't have anything that locks it in and gives them the next step, and I'm an engaging person, I have to be there one-on-one with them for it to really, really, really work. And I'm like, I need Paul. And then I saw that pop up, and see, that's what I believe in, the whole universe things. I was saying, I need something to pass to my people so they can move, so they can get out of this reptilian part of their brain. And then I saw that 5-day laser focus pop up, and I would love for you to explain what that is and how did that evolve, and why is it so important for now?
Thank you. Yeah, the idea of the effect of stress when it hits us, whether it's physical stress, emotional stress, or cognitive stress, our thinking will really stress us out. When we're reading all the news and we're thinking of all the worst possibilities, worst case scenarios, your physical body has to respond to try to protect you because it doesn't feel safe, doesn't feel calm, and doesn't feel connected. And those first three steps that I gave you will give you all three of those: safe, calm, and connected. And so there are a couple of additional pieces to this. And just to hear it once through, it's kind of hard to follow. We can practice it, that's helpful, but to really embody it, and this is the key, Michelle, to embody it, you need to live and remind yourself of it several times a day. And if you and I work together for an entire week, checking in each morning, here's the next piece of it, and add and embellish a little bit more. There's actually two other important steps to this overcoming overwhelm protocol that I call the Joy Spring protocol, because there really is a wellspring of 5 very powerful emotions inside of us. And these techniques, these simple techniques, which you can practice in 90 seconds is all it takes, will help tap you into those greater emotions. And those emotions, in addition to joy, are peace, contentment, gratitude, and happiness. And those are all associated with organ systems within you, energy systems. And this is studies that have been done in Eastern traditions for over 5,000 years. So this is all coming together right now for you in a period of 5 days. So there are a couple of other things that we do. There are some movement exercises that help link the left and right hemispheres of the brain. You know, from my classes, how many of those we have done together, Michelle.
Yes.
And I think the first time you experienced those, you looked at me and said, oh my goodness, this is the guy that can help me reconnect my brain, which is exactly what happened for you.
Yes.
And these movements help connect in the higher brain, link them together. And then there's also exercises of tapping, which are using acupuncture or acupressure points on the body. And by tapping on certain places within you, you get to release a set of positive emotions. First of all, what it does is it neutralizes the negatives, puts you into this beautiful state of possibility, and then it accentuates the positive. And so each day I'm embellishing the exercise. And while the video that I am guiding you with is anywhere from 10 to 15 minutes, what you get is a technique that you'll be able to use anytime you feel a sense of overwhelm coming over you. And it's done in 90 seconds. It's really great. It's called the Laser Focus Challenge. It's a free giveaway on my website, ScheeleLearning.com. It's SCHEELE, ScheeleLearning.com.
And I will put that link at the beginning and the end of this podcast, because
Great.
for those of you who watch me and say, wow, this lady can talk. I mean, she's on fire on stage. She's amazing, blah, 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 blah. I wasn't, okay? One of the things that helped me was this. Well, I had the longer version of the laser focus challenge. I was with Paul and he helped me de-escalate the fear state. I often talk about when I was in my full traumatic brain injury state, I was always in fight or flight. My body was constantly fighting and it wouldn't let me move past because I had so much angst in me and I was so uncertain. Sound familiar with the state of the world right now? And so basically what I see in the world right now is really the same state I was in when I was locked in my head, locked in my own mind. And with this 5-day laser focus challenge, I read up on it and went, he condensed what we've done together. And if it can help someone who was as messed up as I was with my brain injury, and it helped me through my fear state of my breast cancer, what can it do for everyone who is listening or watches me on a daily basis? This 5-day laser focus is, whoa. I mean, Paul, why didn't you do this for me? No, 5 years ago.
Well, what I love about that is, and that's why when I started in our session today, I said, what we're going through right now is just one of a number of stressors that humanity is going to face. This isn't the last. It's absolutely not the first. And what we're doing is we're becoming more intelligent because we're understanding that in order to solve some of the really big problems that humanity has faced, is to recognize that we've met the enemy and he is us. What we've been doing is trying to solve the problems that we face using the same problem-solving method that put the problem there to begin with. So what we're really experiencing is the unintended consequence of how we're going about solving our problem. So really what we're doing is we're moving up a level right now. And this is everybody's opportunity. You can't if you're under stress because you're down regulating the brain. But once you're in this place where you're safe right now, for the moment, You're calm right now for the moment. You're connected right now for the moment. Now you can ask yourself, what's one small next step that I can take right now? Any small one next step. Can I reach out to somebody? Can I connect? Can I read something encouraging? Can I try something I've never tried before? And what we're doing now is we're connecting in with the very important prefrontal cortex of the brain. This is the part that sees the big picture. And humanity is now seeing the big picture. And you know, bad news and good news here. The bad news is that there's a global pandemic. The good news is that we're recognizing we have 8 billion people living in our backyard, maybe in our basement, maybe in our attic, maybe all around our apartment or our room or wherever we are. But we've got 8 billion people, and what everybody does matters to all of us. Buckminster Fuller, decades ago, talked about spaceship Earth. We're on this beautiful blue spaceship going through the universe at 7,000 miles an hour. And what's gorgeous about it is that we have everything that we need. And when we work together, when we see that we're here for each other, that what you do and what I do matters to all of us. And this was in my doctoral research as well. It's a term called transpersonal. There is a connection that we feel, that we recognize, that we're all here together on this spaceship, and we can make a difference for each other. Even holding a positive state, an embodied state of positive mental thoughts for someone that we care about, even if they're not near us, even if they're across the other side of the planet, it has an effect. And this has been studied in so many ways. Some people call it distance healing. Some people call it the Global Coherence Initiative. But this idea that we can bring our minds to hotspots on the planet and imagine things cooling down a little bit, relaxing a bit, can make a big difference. And that's why, Michelle, every day that I meditate, and I have a meditative practice that I keep every morning, you're in that group that receives that energy as well. So if all of us, instead of panicking, would take a moment to drop into that genius that's within us and see not just the current situation, but when we're on the other side of this too shall pass, right?
Yes.
It's going to pass. So when we can envision on the other side of it a better outcome for all of us, a sustainable future for all of us, a one in which we recognize we are one human family, then working together is going to create the new world economy, one that's sustainable and one that's socially just and one that's spiritually fulfilling for everyone.
I'm so glad you said all that, because I've been talking about that often on many of my live broadcasts, is
Yeah.
this global manifestation. And one of the things I've been encouraging, so everyone who's listening, now do you know why Paul is my mentor? Now do you know why I'm such a happy lady? I'm happy because I live this. This is how I live. This entire philosophy that Paul is talking about, I live in it. And when he started talking about the manifestation, I've been telling all of you over and over again, don't buy into these are trying times. Because if you're walking into that, these are trying times, your brain says, these are trying times, and starts looking for all the negative that's happening around you. Now, think of this on this global level. If everyone's saying we're in a mess, these are trying times, we are basically, as an entire globe, manifesting trying times. And that's when all this happened, I went, oh no, these are trying times. Just inflect it. We're going to try some new things. We're going to do happy things. We're going to, start meditating and globally seeing the best version of what's going to happen to all of us in the end. Basically, what I saw was Mother Nature said, "You don't like what's going on. You don't like what you're seeing. You're racist. You're prejudiced. You don't like, if you're blue, black, white, purple. Guess what? I'm going to unplug all of you and reset. Now I'm going to plug you back in. You're all in the same boat. Welcome to humanity." And so instead of us all thinking these are trying times, no, these are growing times. This is the time that we can find who we truly are made out of, because if you look at your neighbors and you see what's going on in your community, they aren't hurting each other. They're lifting each other up. This is the time to see the good in each other. And so I smile. I say, yes, things are happening like they always are happening, but we will get through this and see that our neighbors are not as horrible as we thought they were, and that our global neighbors are struggling just like us. And it doesn't matter if we're first world nations or third world nations, we are all equally human.
Beautiful. I love that. Michelle, I think it's a message that really speaks to the heart. And, the heart has actually a separate neurology from the brain. And it's actually it's the first seat of intelligence within us. That's why many meditative traditions will have you imagine that breath flowing in and out from that center of your body that is your heart center. And if we think energetically, there's 3 energy centers below the heart and 3 energy centers above the heart. This place of the heart is the place where we feel courage. Courage is literally French for full of heart. Cour meaning heart. Courage means filled with heart. So when we have a heartfelt experience of what I would call sufficiency, that there is enough. And while you can look around and think of how scarce things are, you can also think about, well, hold on a moment. What can I be grateful for right now that I have right now? And gratitude is what feeds courage. And once we have a sense of gratitude and courage, then we can recognize that I have sufficiency, I'm worthy, I am capable, I am abled to take a next small step. And when we can live each day wholeheartedly in this way, big things can happen. The human mind is capable of resolving every problem that we now face. Absolutely capable of it. So we all signed on to be here at this moment in human history, in this great turning of human consciousness. I love the way you put it. If a hurricane didn't do it, and global fires didn't do it, and melting of the polar ice cap couldn't do it, let's find some little microorganism known as a virus that doesn't observe boundaries, and let's have it give us a wake-up call. And even if you have been diagnosed with that virus, it's not a death sentence. So stay calm, carry on, breathe, do these exercises that we have, drink plenty of fluids as far as we know, at least at the time that we're making this podcast right now. The thing that you need to do is strengthen your immune system, and it responds to the thoughts and the feelings that you hold. So be strong, carry on. We can get through this. This too shall pass. And let's come out stronger on the other side of this, recognizing our sufficiency, recognizing our gratitude, and recognizing the courage to carry on and create the new world that we're ready to live into.
Wow, should we just end? That was beautiful. Well, my thing, the other thing I'd like to add to that, Paul, is positivity. your immune system is affected by your mental state. And
Yeah.
that's why I thought it was so important to, one, do the 5-day laser focus challenge and get yourself into a new state of thought process, but to see the positive in everything that's happening. I know some things get scary, but find the one positive in there, because if you allow depression to engulf you, your immune system will drop. Many of us can't even go outside. So
Well,
working out thing.
so let's just e- explain positive versus negative. So the root of the word positive is POSI, posi, which means to position. And negative comes from negate, which means to deny, to negate something. And so positive thinking is essentially positioning your thinking with the end result in mind that you desire. Negative thinking is negating access to possibility. And so the idea of positive thinking or possibility thinking is to keep your mind positioned around the next small step you can take, but also what's on the horizon that you're headed toward. And if you have ever read stories of survival where people were in the wilderness or in terrible situations, it's just one step in front of the next, one step at a time. It's the same way, Michelle, that you recovered from your traumatic brain injury. It's just one step at a time. And the other thing that you had mentioned earlier is really important, is when there is uncertainty, when you think there should be willing to just be confused, not know. You see, if you don't know, if you're in a state of confusion, that state of not knowing is right next to curiosity. Because if you recognize the beginner's mind is, I don't know what to do next, and then you get curious, well, what is one small thing that I can notice, grateful for, a resource that I didn't recognize that I had? What can I do to help make that into something that will take us the next step forward? And very important idea, move into curiosity. Make your thinking positioned around the end result you're choosing to create.
I love that. I don't remember you telling it that way to me, with the posi equaling to position. Posi equals position, and negi means to negate.
Yep.
And that posi is to position to the next step or to the desired state.
Yeah.
And that negi is removing the possibilities. Wow, I really like that. And that to walk into curiosity, move into curiosity. It's okay not to know, because that's where a lot of us are.
Well, really, everyone.
Yeah, all the time.
Well,
Always. Well, and that's the thing. We never know. I mean, you have the
right.
best psychic in the world, and they do, well, I think it.
We're all figuring this out together. See, that's a beautiful thing. And try to get good source information as well. That's always helpful. As a scholar practitioner, I'm not an academician. I got a PhD in leadership and change. And oh my goodness, this is a time of change and leadership is required, right? So at least two things that we know are required. We need to keep our vision on getting through this, and we also need to maintain our vision of where we're going beyond this as well. So keep your head about you, be of good cheer, stay focused in the moment, and recognize how abundantly resourced you are. Oh my goodness, this breath is flowing. Oh my goodness, this heart is beating right now. What you choose to do with it is this very next thought that you hold.
Peace, contentment, gratitude. Don't we all want that right now? Always. Uh, all of you, thank you. Thank you for joining us. Paul, thank you for joining me at this last minute. I'm like, Paul, please get on the call with me. Because we need to be laser focused on what we all want to manifest to the other side. And together we can either bring us all down or bring us all up. And might as well focus on the posy, or what we'd like possible, or to what we want a our desired outcome to be on the other side of all this.
I like that idea of income as well as outcome, right?
Yeah.
So income is the flow of resourcefulness into our lives, and the outcome is what we manifest with it. It's the output. It's where we direct our attention. So beautifully put. Very nice. I love those Freudian slips.
I'm about to say, unintentionally, a very intuitive thing to say.
Yes, very good.
Oh, thank you so much, Paul, for joining us. I mean, for those of you who are listening, you're like, who was this incredibly cool man that we were just listening to? You were listening to my mentor, my friend, Dr. Paul Scheele, lovingly known as Paul. Help me! And Paul is the CEO of Scheele Learning Systems and the founding partner of Learning Strategies Corporation. If you ever heard me talk about paraliminals, this is the man I've been talking about, okay? His expertise is in neuroscience, business, psychology, and learning, and he has helped me through, he has guided me through so much of my life, the past 6 years of my life, my entire transformation. I was with him when I had my big aha of who I really was and am and have grown into be. So please follow Mr. Scheele. You can find him at scheelelearning.com. That's SCHEELE learning.com. And wow, find his books too. Can I name off your books? He has a good book. He's got a book called Photo Reading, which could be very handy for those of you who have a lot of books you want to get through and get some knowledge in you really quickly. Photo Reading. And the other book is Natural Brilliance. And then the last one is Drop into Genius. The reason I really wanted him on is because I wanted all of you to get to his site. He's doing a free complimentary session. It's 5 days, called the 5-Day Laser Focus Challenge. And I'll have the link to all of that in the description of this podcast and at the end of this podcast, so that you can actually get to it quickly, because 5 days of laser focus, of positively bringing a desired outcome at the end of all of this, or in the 5 days that you're with Paul Scheele. And I wanted to share his wisdom, his calmness, his love with all of you. So thank you for joining us, everybody. And this is Michelle Moross. You can find me at www.michellemoross.com, or you're already on it, MentalShift. So have a great day. And Paul, thank you so much.
Peace and blessings.
Bye-bye, everybody.